Welcome back to the Top Notch Documentaries YouTube channel. In this episode of the serial killer series, I'll be focusing on the suspected serial killer Neal Falls. I hope you enjoy. It was July 18th, 2015 when Heather Saul opened the door to a man with seriously bad intent. Heather was a sex worker and had posted an advertisement on the website Backpage. The man who was standing on her doorstep was the one who had responded to her advert for services. Heather resided in Charleston, West Virginia, and was unaware that the man at her home was a real-life monster, a predator in plain sight. The man was also living in West Virginia, but had previously roamed around much of the United States. The man had evil intent, which was made perfectly clear once he was welcomed into Heather's home. He pulled out a pistol and uttered the unforgettable line, "Live or die." The man's words frightened Heather. The line pierced her ears, and she knew instantly that this was a life or death situation. A scuffle ensued in the following moments as Heather put up a fight. She knew the outcome if she stayed compliant. Heather explained what happened in this struggle. "When he strangled me, I grabbed my rake, and when he laid the gun down to get the rake out of my hands, I shot him. I grabbed the gun and shot behind me." The man slumped over, but his belt got stuck on the door and so he was left hanging. He had been shot in the head. Heather was freaked out by the ordeal but managed to call the police. They arrived and upon searching the man's vehicle, they knew that this was a case of self-defense. The man was identified through his driver's license as 45-year-old Neal Falls, who was originally from Eugene, Oregon. He was a long way from the Pacific Northwest. Upon searching Falls' vehicle for evidence relating to what seemed like an attempted murder, police were horrified and stunned by what they uncovered. Inside Falls' Subaru Forester, they found a kill kit. Some of the contents include axes, a machete, knives, a shovel, sledgehammers, bleach, plastic trash bags, plastic tubs in which a person could be fitted, and some bulletproof vests. Just as disturbing were the other contents that were found on Falls' possession. He had 4 pairs of handcuffs and post-it notes with the names of 6 other women. Heather saved 6 other women's lives. They were all still breathing when police checked their statuses. Neal Falls was deceased and the investigators were confident that Heather had just put an end to the spree of an active serial killer. Heather was in the right and she was cleared of any murder charge. It was obviously self-defense. Neal Falls was looked into as his vehicle contained what resembled a much more devious looking serial killer kill kit. Police knew that this man must have been up to something sinister. He was 45 and so police were certain that this wasn't just a one-off episode. Heather had been lucky and she was now a hero in her community. Now, let's get into some of the background on Neal Falls, the suspected serial killer. Falls grew up in a large, impoverished family in Oregon. He had 9 siblings and other than this, little else is known about his early years. What is known is that Falls loved firearms and amassed a collection of them over the years. He spent the majority of his life in Oregon and worked as a private security guard. He continued this profession in Nevada, moving there in the year 2000. He worked at the Hoover Dam. Prior to moving to Nevada, people spoke highly of Falls. He seemed like a good guy. This contradicted the impression that his colleagues at the Hoover Dam had of him. The Hoover Dam is on the border between Nevada and Arizona, but Falls was only allowed to operate the Arizona checkpoint because of his intolerance for the public. This and his poor dental hygiene made many of his colleagues dislike him. He was cruel towards animals and his colleagues knew that something wasn't right with him. His co-workers often joked that he was probably killing hookers. Yet this is probably true. Falls was into survivalist topics and wanted to go off the grid. He was successful in doing this because little information is available online about him. He clearly wasn't on law enforcement radar for any serious crimes either. He had many traffic violations, but that's about it. Falls told colleagues that he was going to the Philippines for the sex workers and he might have victims outside of the United States. Falls' time at the Hoover Dam ended in 2008. That year he was kicked from the role because he had apparently sexually harassed a female. He seemed to spiral into a depressive cycle. He lived in numerous states at this time, and these include Indiana, Oregon, Kentucky and Texas. What might have been the turning point which led to the attack on Heather came in January 2015. Falls unearthed a hidden secret from his partner at the time. The woman was married. They had been what was described as intimately related. Falls would then degrade further upon learning that his mother had died unexpectedly. Did he kill more women prior to attacking Heather in 2015? His emotional state was troublesome, and it might have spurred a murder cycle. Investigators put out a potential list of victims of Neal Falls. The most likely victims were presumably determined given Falls' residence being Nevada at the time of these women's disappearances. Also, his MO might have played a role in investigators believing that Falls may be involved. Misty Marie Sayans was working as a sex worker in Las Vegas in 2003. She vanished that same year in March, and her torso was located in black trash bags off State Route 159. This is just west of Las Vegas. She was only 25 years old. That same year in August, Jodie Marie Brewer, aged 19, was reported missing. Not long after this, her torso was found in a similar manner along Interstate 15. Her torso was about 25 miles south of the Nevada-California border. It was in San Bernardino, California. She was operating as a sex worker in Las Vegas as well. In May 2005, Lindsay Marie Harris, aged 21, was reported missing from Henderson, Nevada. Her legs would be located that same month, over 1,600 miles away, in Springfield, Illinois. The killer must have travelled with her dismembered remains. All women shared the same middle name, Marie, and this might be of value to cracking the cases and proving a potential connection, or it might just be a coincidence. There hasn't been any news or closure on these three cases, and if there is any concrete evidence tying Falls to the women's disappearances, hasn't been revealed at this time. Neal Falls was clearly a disturbed character, and thankfully his life of causing pain to other people was put to an end by Heather Saul. Again, Neal Falls is only a suspected serial killer. I personally believe that he was a serial killer, just given his shady behaviour at the Hoover Dam. And let's not forget his vehicle's contents. Just how many people he murdered and when he began killing will forever be a mystery. Hopefully one day victim families can get some much needed answers. This has been the Serial Killer Series episode on Neal Falls. As always, thank you for watching.